Tariffs. Just hearing the word incites some 2025 news nausea. And for some people, it feels like you're about to get a pop quiz on a dry, crusty macroeconomics topic. But don't tune out just yet, because tariffs really are anything but boring. They shape economies, they raise prices, they start trade wars, and occasionally they win elections. Today we're asking, what exactly is a tariff? Why do governments use them, and are they the economic equivalent of kale? Broadly disliked, yet somehow still always on the menu. To start, what is a tariff? At its core, a tariff is a tax on imports. If the US imposes a 20% tariff on foreign hats, that means a $20 hat from China now lands at $24. That extra $4, it goes to the US government. Congratulations, your hats are now more patriotic. But for much of US history, tariffs were the government's main source of revenue. There was no IRS in 1790. There were just ports and taxes. It was a simpler time back then, back when smuggling tea could make you a revolutionary hero. One of the earliest big tariffs, though, the Tariff of 1789, which established a general 5% tax on imports and was championed by Alexander Hamilton himself, because apparently the guy wasn't content with just founding the Treasury or starring in a Broadway musical. He also wanted to shift the young American nation from a purely agrarian economy reliant on foreign markets to a diversified industrial power, reducing vulnerability to foreign policies and demand. Also, historically, tariffs weren't just economic, they were existential. The Tariff of Abominations in 1828, which was designed to protect manufacturers in northern states from cheap British imports, was so hated in the South, it helped trigger the nullification crisis, which sounds like the title of another follow-up Marvel movie. But the nullification crisis was the response of South Carolina, where it claimed states could nullify federal laws, ultimately intensifying sectional tensions and foreshadowing the Civil War, as it highlighted deep economic and political divisions over states' rights and federal power. So why do countries use tariffs today? One word: protection. Specifically protection for domestic industries. Let's say you live in a Rust Belt town. Your local steel mill is closing because cheaper steel is coming in from abroad. Workers are losing jobs. Politicians are losing votes. What do? Well, if you're running for office, you promise a tariff. You level the playing field, or at least tilt it toward the voters who might elect you. Protection, though, as many economists contend, is politically inevitable, but often economically stupid, which sounds like the perfect tagline for 21st century politics. There's also a national security angle. Do you really want to depend on your geopolitical rival for semiconductors, antibiotics, or toilet paper? Former U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer once argued that tariffs are essential in an age of Chinese industrial dominance. So, to paraphrase, if China's flooding the global market with cheap goods, why shouldn't we fight back? Also, tariffs can be used as leverage. The diplomatic version of, nice auto industry you've got there. Would be a shame if someone taxed it. But here's the problem. Tariffs don't just hit foreign companies, they hit you. Remember that $20 hat that's now $24? That cost is either passed to consumers or to businesses, who then pass it to you. Like a game of hot potato made of economic pain. An example of this occurred in the 1930s with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which was a US law that drastically raised tariffs on over 20,000 goods. While the act intended to protect American farmers and industries during the early Great Depression, it instead triggered retaliatory tariffs from other countries, caused global trade to collapse, worsened the Depression, and ultimately became a symbol of protectionism's dangers. It was sort of like giving your dog chocolate because you heard it had antioxidants. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed sweeping tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods. The Peterson Institute for International Economics estimated it cost $57 billion in higher prices, which is like buying a Super Bowl ad for protectionism every day for a decade. And earlier this year in 2025, though the policies seemed to shift with each presidential social media post, the Trump 2.0 administration raised the tariff on imported steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%, a sharp escalation that left no major supplier untouched. Analysts at the Peterson Institute warned that these broad tariffs, not just on metals but many goods from Canada, Mexico, and China, could cost the typical U.S. household over $1,200 per year in higher prices and taxes. Milton Friedman, the guy who made free market capitalism look sexy to 1980s Republicans, thought of tariffs as a tax on consumers to support inefficient producers, and ultimately not helpful for the public.
We call a tariff a protective measure. It does protect. It protects the consumer very well against one thing. It protects the consumer against low prices.
But the costs don't stop there. Tariffs trigger retaliation. You slap duties on Canadian lumber, they hit back on Wisconsin cheese, and suddenly your charcuterie board is a casualty of war. It's like a bad breakup where both sides keep giving each other the silent treatment, except instead of silence, it's more costly soybeans, bourbon, and Harley Davidsons. But here's the paradox. Economists almost universally dislike tariffs, but politicians love them. Why? Because tariffs are visible, tangible. They feel like action. You can put a number on them. You can say, I fought for American jobs, and no one really reads the fine print that says, by raising prices on you, American consumers. They appeal to a tribal instinct, us versus them, our workers, our industries, our bacon. But even Adam Smith, the father of modern-day capitalism, once wrote, commerce, which ought naturally to be among nations as among individuals, a bond of union and friendship, has become the most fertile source of discord and animosity. In other words, tariffs can become political economic junk food, satisfying in the short term, but with efficiency heartburn that lasts for years, like that fried butter on a stick wrapped in Oreo crumbles that you got at the 4th of July fair. Sometimes, yes, tariffs do save jobs. Sometimes they give struggling industries a boost or time to adjust to new conditions. But often they reward inefficiency, they slow innovation, and they end up propping up zombie companies like they're Schrodinger's factories, dead by every economic measure, but somehow still cashing government checks. So what are tariffs? They're taxes, but they're also weapons, bargaining chips, and political theater. Used wisely, they can protect key industries or create leverage in negotiations. But used recklessly, they're a backdoor tax hike that hurts the very people they claim to help. They're not good or bad by nature, they're tools. And like any tool, it depends on who's wielding it and what they're trying to build. So the next time you hear someone say tariffs are bringing jobs back, you might want to ask, at what cost? And whether the rest of us just got handed the bill. That's all I've got for now. Drop some thoughts in the comments below if you got them, but until next time, take care of yourself.